So the Philippines has been very good about standing up to the CCP's gray zone warfare. As you mentioned, they have a lot of tactics that the U.S. could learn from about dealing with these kind of cognitive warfare tactics. Do you think this attack at the Second Thomas Shoal has solidified their resolve to fight back, or are they scared?
Are they scared? The answer to that is no. In fact, I would go so far as to say that the Philippine military leadership is not afraid of China. They are absolutely not afraid of China. They know they're dealing with a bully. They get it. They know that in order to deal with a bully, what you have to do is you have to push back, and so that the very senior military leadership there's not a fear there. That is, I think, Chris, a very different. Boy, I might going to get myself in hot water here, but that's a very different mental attitude than we see in Washington and at Indo-PACOM. I think on the U.S. side there is fear. They don't want to poke the bear, and there is a very risk-adverse attitude at the State Department, at the Department of Defense. And so I think that the attitude is very different. So the Philippines has been in preparation for all kinds of contingencies relating to China for at least the last couple, 3 years, as this whole escalation by China has increased. So I think that it's not a fear factor. They've got some political challenges internally within the country to maintain the leadership. And I think all we need to do is we need to look at these polls that show that something like 80+% of the population wants the Philippine military to take more aggressive action. That augurs or bodes very well for, I think, a continued stand-up. There has been a shakeup. They were caught off guard, I think, by this escalation. But General Bronner has come out with very strong statements that if you Chinese, you do this again, we're going to meet whatever force you bring on us with the same. And that is, I think, really helpful. The other thing that we might see is a change in the personnel aboard the Sierra Madre, and that'll be a dead giveaway if they change out those Philippine sailors for Philippine Marines or SEALs. We will know that the Philippines really means business here.
So I know during the Duterte period, there was this real fault line in the Philippines over the U.S. There was this idea that the U.S. is far away and not interested in helping the Philippines, so we have to deal with China. Obviously, dealing with China didn't work. But is there still this fear that the U.S. and Washington will not stand up for the Philippines? Because it sounds like there is something to that fear.
Yeah, no. Your question is an excellent one. That is becoming an increasing concern among the population, and there is this hope that the United States will be a viable partner, as we see in the rhetoric. But there's increasing concern that all they see are the so-called strong statements coming out of the State Department, coming out of the U.S. Embassy, coming out of Indo-PACOM, and the U.S. doesn't really do anything. Now, to be fair to the United States, I mean, the training exercises, the equipment, there's a lot of motion, so forth. But that's the easy stuff to do. Why? Because it doesn't require any serious commitment to get your head in the fight. And so, as an example of what I'm talking about, you've seen a lot of hype about these joint patrols, or the U.S. doing a patrol with the Philippine Navy. Well, here's where the rubber meets the road. Those joint patrols are all done in areas of the West Philippine Sea that it doesn't matter. There's no controversy there. And so, what our country needs to do is do something. Take some steps. Do you have to have the permission of the Philippine government? Not for everything. Example, you could have all kinds of operations, movement around, and let's just take this large Chinese Coast Guard ship that's at Sabina Shoal. The challenge is that the people in the country, and as well as the political and military leadership, they need to see the US, our country, do something other than issue strong statements. And so there are these patrols that they've been doing, joint patrols out in the West Philippine Sea. And those patrols are, interestingly, in places where it doesn't make any difference. There's no controversy. They're out there where it's safe. And what needs to happen is that the United States needs to have physical presence. They need to understand the concept of how important it is to show the flag. Sabina Shoal is an area where there's a potential new China reclamation island that might be built there, and get down near Sabina Shoal and run some air operations for a couple of days, or take a couple of destroyers and or a fleet with a carrier and circle between a Union Shoal and go up to Scarborough Shoal for a few days and come back. The point here is that the Philippine population, as well as its military political leadership, are I think, getting weary of these strong statements, and that's all coming out of our State Department, our Department of Defense, and Indo-PACOM. They're looking to do something, or that the United States do something, and there are lots of things that the U.S. could do. And I know that there have been statements that the United States offered some type of assistance or support following this June 17 attack, and that was turned down. That's the media report. I mean, I wasn't in the room, so I don't know. But among the things that the United States could do, for instance, is at Sabina Shoal, where there is this large monster ship. Uh, we could be running air operations down there for a few days. We could have a fleet that goes back up to uh, Scarborough Shoal. We could have operations in the areas of the West Philippine Sea where it's really important, where there's a controversy. The showing the flag means you got to get in there where there are problems and show that the United States is truly going to stand shoulder to shoulder with their ally. That also might mean some fleet operations out near Bagasa Island. And why is that? Because the Chinese may be building new islands out at Key 1 and Sandy Key 2, which are just a couple miles from the Philippine island of Bagasa, way out in the western edge of the Philippine economic zone. So that the presence and showing the flag are really important.